Havana syndrome attacks are created by GPS data spoofing, basically hacking by saturating an area with a modified electromagnetic microwave radio frequency L1 1575.42 MHz GPS carrier signal. Havana syndrome attacks. I am about to explain to you what they are, what they are made from, how they are made, the technical name for Havana syndrome attacks, and what makes the Havana syndrome attack, cricket noise, and why some people, mammals, can hear it and some can't. I add the word mammals because household pets can hear the cricket noise and feel the effects from Havana syndrome attacks, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, microwave auditory effect hearing as well. I am also going to explain how Havana syndrome attacks, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, can be detected and how you can tell if you are being targeted by this system. My family and I have endured 12 years of torture, and it took me 10 years, a decade, to figure out what was causing the ailments my family and I were, and are enduring, that no one else could hear or feel unless they spent time in our home or our car. Being tortured, under surveillance, hacked and imprisoned by a terrorist group of gang members in our neighborhood, a neighborhood watch on steroids, for what reason I do not know, perhaps training or target practice, we believe a smuggling traffic organization. Hello, name is Anthony Arellano. When the systems listed below are combined, sent, and saturate a selected targeted area, it creates a GPS data spoofing, surveillance, network computing cloud. Able to connect terrorists, organized gang members to a targeted area, connecting them to electronics by phase synchronization and perform audio surveillance. Simply by saturating targeted area with a GPS data spoofing, surveillance, network computing cloud. Havana syndrome attacks are side effects produced by GPS data spoofing. This is how. When GPS data spoofing takes place, the spoofed signal has to be a stronger signal and saturate an entire area to saturate wireless adapters. Voltage, power, electromagnetic microwaves can be lowered or raised to increase or decrease strength of saturation, to improve connectivity to wireless electronics, phase synchronization, and also increase or decrease the amount of torture inflicted on targeted individuals within this GPS data spoofing L1 1575.42 MHz microwave saturated area, controlled with the voltage control oscillator, which is part of the digital phase locked loop, but more on that in a bit. Wireless adapters are used in all wireless electronics to achieve wireless communication. Saturation from a GPS data spoofing system is used to blanket a targeted area and override the normal signal connection. This is achieved by phase synchronization with a digital phase locked loop. Another process taking place when target is saturated is audio surveillance, and this is being done with the addition of a RTL SDR being added with a hacker RF to the L1 1575.42 MHz GPS data spoofing system. Wireless electronic devices work by connecting to a network using a built-in wireless adapter. GPS data spoofing works by saturating an entire area with a modified L1 1575.42 MHz microwave carrier signal and is made up of three major parts, listed below, when combined together make up a network computing cloud, which is able to provide remote satellite phase data synchronization, data hacking and monitoring, and audio surveillance. Now remember, this is all being done with an L1 1575.42 MHz, which is a microwave signal and produces radiation. This is saturation of an entire area with a system producing microwaves and radiation. What is used to create Havana syndrome attacks? GPS data spoofing. Havana syndrome attacks are side effects from GPS data spoofing, hacking. Works by saturating targeted area with L1 1575.42 MHz pulse microwave GPS signal. Made with computer with Windows 10 or higher, OR Linux. Hacker RF. RTL SDR. Digital phase locked loop. GPS transceiver, antenna. Can target and saturate any area our GPS, GNSS satellite system can go. Prolonged direct saturation from GPS data spoofing L1 1575.42 MHz pulse, digital, microwave carrier signal can phase synchronize with wireless adapters in wireless electronics for hacking. RTL-SDR can be used for audio surveillance within areas saturated with this GPS data spoofing system. Technical names for ailments and cricket noise are electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome and microwave auditory effect hearing. These are better known as Havana syndrome attacks. GPS data spoofing. GPS data spoofing saturation creates side effect electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, better known as Havana syndrome attacks. The world's RGPS GNSS satellite system must be updated, perhaps encrypted, to solve these problem. First, a PC using Windows 10 or Linux, using a hacker RF with RTL-SDR software-defined radio, which when combined with the systems listed below can send and create a modified L1 1575.42 MHz microwave GPS carrier signal, carrier wave, because this is a radio frequency used by our GPS GNSS system. It can be sent with a GPS transceiver data antenna to our GNSS satellite system and can travel anywhere our GNSS satellite system can go. It then saturates selected targeted area blanketing target in a GPS L1 1575.42 MHz pulse microwave data spoofing system. All audio within saturated area can now be turned into frequency-modulated radio signals by using an RTL-SDR with an L1 1575.42 MHz pulse microwave GPS carrier signal. This creates audio surveillance, and audio within saturated area can now be monitored. All electronics have wireless adapters contained in wireless electronics, connecting wireless electronics to wireless networks. Hacking by GPS data spoofing takes place by saturating an entire area with modified L1 1575.42 MHz microwave carrier signal combined with a digital phase-locked loop becomes a computing network cloud connecting terrorists, hackers to target by phase synchronization hacking to the wireless adapters, thus gaining access to saturated wireless electronics. Second is an L1 1575.42 MHz microwave carrier signal, carrier wave. This is used to target and saturate area and can be used to target globally using GNSS satellite system. Prolonged saturation from this signal causes electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome and microwave auditory effect hearing, which are the physical ailments in Havana syndrome attack, cricket noise people experience with prolonged saturation. Also, microwave auditory effect hearing, which takes place between 200 MHz to 6 GHz. This creates the ability for mammals to hear pulse electromagnetic waves, radio signals which target is saturated in. If target is experiencing these ailments, they have been saturated and under surveillance for an extended period of time. The body must have time to absorb microwaves, electromagnetic waves. Third is a digital phase-locked loop. This can be combined with the L1 1575.42 MHz, which makes a differential vector phase-locked loop. The phase-locked loop is also made up of 3 parts. 1 phase comparator, 2 loop filter, 3 voltage control oscillator. Digital phase-locked loop is used to perform phase synchronization and locking onto any wireless adapter within saturated area. This works like a new TV remote control syncing up to a television. Radio frequency is located, matched, then locked onto. This system is made up with oscillating electromagnetic waves, microwaves, and radio frequencies. Oscillating, which can be controlled with the VCO from the digital phase-locked loop along with the L1 1575.42 MHz microwave signal produces low to moderate forms of radiation which can be detected by a thermal camera. I have proof. Yes, thermal imaging can detect Havana syndrome attacks. Not infrared but a thermal camera. GPS data spoofing. Havana syndrome attacks. It looks like a glowing wall around targeted area because this system works by saturating an entire area. It also radiates the target's water supply, and that can be seen as well with a thermal camera. Because GPS data spoofing works by saturation, this is one way a person can tell if they are being spoofed. When GPS data spoofing takes place, it causes interference by, like I said before, saturating targeted area. This then interrupts the target's normal GPS signal. This is how diplomats and basically anyone can tell immediately if they are being GPS data spoofed. Havana syndrome attacks. 1. Google search their immediate location, the address they are at right at that moment, then 2. Bring it up on Google Maps. 3. The blue location indicator will be moving independently and at times not even in the approximate location that the diplomat target are in. This all happens with saturation from a modified spoofed L1 1575.42 MHz microwave GPS carrier signal carrier wave. GPS data spoofing side effects. GPS data spoofing creates side effect electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome. Microwave auditory effect hearing, FRE. These are the true technical names for side effects from being saturated with L1 1575.42 MHz microwave GPS carrier signal used for GPS data spoofing. These side effects are better known as Havana syndrome attacks. Electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome is characterized by a variety of nonspecific symptoms, which afflicted individuals attribute to exposure to electromagnetic microwave fields. The symptoms most commonly experienced include dermatological symptoms, redness, tingling, burning sensations, and itching, as well as neurasthenic and vegetative symptoms, vertigo, fatigue, tiredness, concentration difficulties, dizziness, nausea, heart palpitations, and digestive disturbances. The collection of symptoms is not part of any recognized syndrome. Do these symptoms sound familiar, like Havana syndrome attack symptoms? Microwave auditory effect hearing. FRE effect. This causes swelling of the cochlea and temporal lobe, enabling target mammals, humans within saturated area, creating the ability to hear electromagnetic waves and radio frequencies and whatever is being carried on those radio frequencies, making target think they are insane, hearing buzzing, hissing and even voices carried on the radio frequencies from within this system that would never be heard without the use of wireless communication electronics. The hearing of electromagnetic microwave pulses is a unique exception to the airborne or bone-conducted sound energy normally encountered in human auditory perception. The hearing apparatus commonly responds to airborne or bone-conducted acoustic or sound pressure waves in the audible frequency range. But the hearing of microwave pulses involves electromagnetic waves whose frequency ranges from 200 MHz to 6 GHz. A spoofed GPS L1 1575.42 MHz is well within the range for microwave auditory effect hearing. GPS data spoofing being a L1 1575.42 MHz microwave GPS carrier signal carrier wave provides global mobility and targeting for this system. Saturation from this pulse microwave satellite targeting system is what is causing all of the side effects, ailments from Havana syndrome attacks, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, microwave auditory effect hearing, FRE effect, and being combined with a digital phase locked loop. And RTL-SDR is what is providing surveillance. Since electromagnetic waves, e.g., light, are seen but not heard, the report of auditory perception of microwave pulses was at once astonishing and intriguing. Moreover, it stood in sharp contrast to the responses associated with continuous wave microwave radiation. Experimental and theoretical studies have shown that the microwave auditory phenomenon does not arise from an interaction of microwave pulses directly with the auditory nerves or neurons along the auditory neurophysiological pathways of the central nervous system. Instead, the microwave pulse, upon absorption by soft tissues in the head, launches a thermoelastic wave of acoustic pressure that travels by bone conduction to the inner ear. There, it activates the cochlear receptors via the same process involved for normal hearing. Aside from tissue heating, microwave auditory effect is the most widely accepted biological effect of microwave radiation with a known mechanism of interaction, the thermoelastic theory. So what the target diplomats, civilians saturated in this spoofed differential vector phase locked loop microwave network cloud use for surveillance and torture are actually hearing is a mixture of electromagnetic induced tinnitus with the combination of a pulse electromagnetic microwave phase locked loop. They are all done by being saturated for a period of time. This is why when first responders show up and do not hear anything, it is because their bodies have not had time to absorb the microwave radiation produced by the spoofed microwave network cloud saturated area. A person must be saturated for a period of time with a modified spoofed GPS microwave L1 1575.42 MHz network cloud to be stricken with Havana syndrome attacks, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, which means if they are experiencing symptoms they have been under surveillance for a while. The voltage control oscillator from the digital phase locked loop controls how much power is fed into this system or taken, so the more, less power the stronger, weaker the electromagnetic phase locked loop the more, less pressure and sound the target experiences and the more, less torture the target is put through. The side effects make target think they are going insane, thus stopping them from reporting these attacks. My family is still being tortured for what I know.